Here we go. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:30. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have no public in the room tonight, but is there any public comment online? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into correspondence. Troy, do you have anything?
I have none.
I don't have anything either. We can go right to reports. Tonight we have our student ambassador, Anna, but Anna, I know that this is like been your summer break and your report is just on here, but it is not in any way sort of like a formal, you should have one. If you have one, great. And if you don't, we'll certainly welcome your feedback throughout the meeting. Is that a no? You don't have one? Is it, you don't have to say it, like you can just tell me.
I don't know, just one thing is that the senior sunrise has been planned for August 28th at 5:30 a.m. in Misquamicut Pavilion, and they're looking for breakfast, food, coffee, drink donations. I think that's it.
Oh, that's great.
Where would we bring the donations?
They didn't tell us.
Okay.
So I can reach out to the class of 2026 officers and then I can let you know.
Let me know. I'd be happy to bring.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's a very fun tradition. That's great. Troy, do you want to do your report?
Sure. My report was in the packet. I can review a couple things. If you have any questions, that would be great too. We did hire Robert Hibson, who is a library media specialist at 20% time. That's 1 day a week. And I'll explain that more later when we get to that part of the agenda. Hopefully, I will be advertising for a library media aide, hopefully tomorrow, and we'll talk about that also. By the way, just do not worry you, if we did both, it's within the budget that we had for the library media specialist because it's the 1 day and not the 2. I can explain more details later. We did have a paraprofessional resign, unfortunately, and we're looking for a replacement. Our IT department has done a tremendous amount of work this summer, even last year and into the summer, and I can't wait to report about that in the meeting when we get to it. But one of the things we're doing is MFA, or multi-factor authentication, that really better protects our student records, our documents, our information, and protects us in terms of having cybersecurity insurance that'll cover us because we have MFA. Often you can't get the cybersecurity insurance to cover you if you don't have multi-factor authentication. And we've been behind in that. We should have been doing it at least a year or 2 ago, and I'm glad we're actually doing it now. Another thing you should know, I think it was at the last board meeting, it became very apparent that we're not doing enough to protect the planet. So we've had some discussions with my administrative team, and we're making some efforts to do more. And one of the things is we're going to start collecting bottles and cans deliberately so that we can get the deposits. But there's other things we need to look at as well. Work in progress. The IT department has worked very closely with our facilities director, Randy Rumroll, and on smartboard installation. And I'll tell you more about that. Amazing work. Both Kristen and St. Germain and Rob Salino, Kristen with Natasha Zanelli, reading specialist, have submitted grants to the North Stonington Education Foundation, which it looked to me that there were well-supported grants among the membership, and probably then the elementary school is going to get $2,000 for workshops with the Yellow Farmhouse Education Center on sustainability practices and like collection of food scraps and cafeteria and understanding the impact of all that. And then Wheeler is going to get $1,000 grant, looks like, for 7th graders to all read Fish in a Tree. That'll help them reflect on the core values of respect, responsibility, and resilience. So that's really cool that we have our staff taking advantage of the funds that this education foundation raises. Another really, I think, good development, and it's been a lot of collaboration, and thank you to Alan Ladd, highway foreman and tree warden for the town, for taking this on to get the appropriate signage for the town vehicles that were offered to us for use for field trips and sports transportation. So it seems as though we're going to actually be in compliance when we use these vehicles and hopefully find a regular way to use them. Our goal is to look at the signups on the athletic teams each season and hopefully dedicate that bus to transporting that team. But it's a 20-passenger bus that we do need someone with a CDL license. So we're probably going to have to hire a driver, although our athletic director does have that license, but she wouldn't be able to drive it all the time because she's got to be athletic director. So we're working all that out, but it looks like we actually made quite a bit of progress. And then I just listed other meetings. Any questions on that report?
I just want to be clear, right now, we don't have any cybersecurity insurance in place, or we do have it. It's just more expensive than it would be with the MFA. Will we save money with the fact that we do the MFA?
Yes, we have a cybersecurity policy. It's $10,000 a year. Last year was the first year that we had it. Troy put it into place. I also checked with our normal insurance company, and they said we have some coverage under them for different, if somebody were to cut into our bank account and get things. But this multi-factor authorization, I believe, will enable me to go back to our insurance company, our major insurance company, and ask for coverage at a lesser cost.
Is that for all grades? All grades are going to have to do the
So
multi-factor?
it's all staff and all students, but we have an easy way for the students to do it that we're going to roll out and explain and train the students.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Troy? So the majority of my report is going to be covered in other agenda items. So the only thing that I do want to report is that we got an email today, and we briefly touched on this in our finance committee meeting, that we now have a new auditor. King did not renew their contract with us this year, so we had to find a new auditor, and we have been able to identify one and contract with them. And Kathy already has their contact information, and it sounds like they're going to start the audit soon. So that's all I have in my report. Facilities and finance. Christine, do you want to talk about our finance committee meeting?
Sure. So we reviewed the July financials and talked a little bit about the layout of it. Kathy's going to start doing a forecast for us, but it's a little early for that. So we thought maybe if we could start showing that column maybe by November, so that she has a few months behind her to kind of put some of those numbers together. We're also going to change that over underline to say favorable and only show parentheses around the negative numbers. It looks a little bit like they're all negative right now. So we're going to change that a little bit. They are central office, Troy and Kathy, they're all working on the financial procedures manual. Everything from discovering, that the superintendent should sign all contracts to putting in processes when they find changes and things with iVisions, which is very complex. We are learning continually, but they are managing it well and don't see a need immediately to make any changes. And the encumbrances that come out of that iVisions can be difficult. So that's where Kathy's going to work on calculating forecasts instead. She feels that'll be more accurate. And that's what we're looking for. We also talked about if there's any changes in line items where they're running short, to maybe give us a heads up of what that projection is and where do we think that money is going to come from in other line items, but not actually changing those line items, but just kind of giving us an idea of how we're going to stay within the budget, even if we have some line items that are short or long. And that's about it. It was a productive meeting. We collaborated well, and we just want to have things come to the forefront sooner than later and just keep, providing support and answers to any questions they may have of us. That's where we're at.
Does anyone have any questions about the July financials that they want to address in this meeting? Okay, Troy, Kathy, do you have anything you want to add about the July financials? I feel like Christine really did a good job covering it.
The only thing is when you actually look at like the money that we spent, sometimes it's money like it's a one-time cost that we paid up front, like New England Mechanical. you know, or like dues for CIAC or ECC, you know, we're paying that one time. And so it looks like maybe we paid a chunk of money already and it's, you know, but that's why it's like you pay it early in the year. And that's about all.
Yeah, and one more thing on that too, because you did point out quite a bit of that stuff. The AP French is
Oh, right.
a new thing, but that's only because our new French teacher isn't quite up to speed on teaching AP yet. So we did that as an online course,
Right.
which also frees up a block of time for that AP teacher to teach more students in class, but still offer that AP option. So that's why you see an AP class there already being paid for. School
Yeah,
hasn't
that's on the
quite-
last page, on line 205.
Yeah.
It says distance learning.
Yeah, so if you were wondering,
That-
why is there distance learning when school hasn't
That's for
started?
AP French.
That's what that's for. Thank you, Troy.
So we can move on to the non-lapsing account. Troy, do you want to give us those non-lapsing updates?
Sure. So the non-lapsing report that's in your packet, we talked about it as a finance committee a little bit, and we talked about adding some dates for when the board approved the purchase and what the exact dollar amount was for the approval, because sometimes the actual cost is less. And it would be good to be able to look at that history. And we've done that somewhat towards the bottom a little bit, but we're going to improve it and start doing that moving forward. What we do have on here that's new is we did the J Pro Sports batting cage purchase on here for $6,200, a little over. And then also what's on here on the bottom, which we haven't purchased yet or are about to, is the 3 scoreboards we discussed last time. There was a change in personnel in the company, and then we had to go back and forth a little bit, and they're going to honor the original quote, which was good. And so that'll be happening soon. So that's there, and that's the money. That 25,289 is the total of the 2 votes that you took to approve those. Remember, you approved the baseball, softball in 1 vote, and the soccer, lacrosse in another. But we just added those so you can see the total there, and that's the date that you approved it. So anyway, that's just the update on that. We did talk in the finance committee about what is the projected balance going into this. And Kathy's been working very closely with Melissa and Sue at the town on end of the year finances, and it's looking to be somewhere around $80,000 is what we're looking to put into here. Any questions?
The before and after care we had, I think last time was on here, but now it's off. So are we just taking it off that 35,000 that we kind of,
For Cub Club,
yeah.
Troy's going to speak to Cub Club, but we were pretty darn close to breaking even, and didn't need that 35,000.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, what's the statute of limitations for that 35,000? Is it just 1 year? Are we going to?
It was supposed to be for setup.
For setup,
If she
okay.
needed it in the first year, it was to help with her salaries
Okay.
and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we wanted to introduce bringing money back in, I think we need to do it for something.
No.
Do it again.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So it's just gone. It's just dissolved back into the overall balance.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on non-lapsing? Okay, moving on to the school maintenance item. Troy and I, a couple of weeks ago, Kathy was there too, met with Randy, Alan from the town.
And Bob.
We had
Right.
the assistant foreman,
Oh, Phil.
Phil, and then Bob Carlson, and we all sat together to talk about the real world rollout of this school town maintenance responsibility. And prior to that meeting, I really did believe that we were going to have a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education, and we were really going to have to ask a lot of questions. And it became really apparent about 20 minutes into the meeting that we're not going to need any of this, that things are going really well. Everyone's on the same page. There's great communication. There's really good plans. One of the things that we did was talk about Bob's concern that perhaps he under budgeted because he didn't take into consideration some of the contracts that the town maybe has their own thing and we have our own thing and they might absorb that in. And he didn't take those into consideration when they chose that $100,000 number. Luckily, we did include those in our budgeting. And so we have those in our budget this year, but we were able to identify items that will likely slide over to the town next year. And so that money would slide with it. And as we were looking through the contracts, everybody was able to identify the same things. And so what that really said to me was everyone's on the same page and it's working really well. Alan and Randy have been walking through the schools and talking about things. And we actually talked about a couple of like real life things that had already happened, who was going to do what. The other piece that had come up in my initial meeting with Bob was about how do we identify when there's a problem, who's going to fix it, and how do we know that it's been addressed? We have master library, is that right? The task.
Yeah, we call it ML, work order request.
So we use it here internally for
Mhm.
teachers to put in work orders, like my air conditioning's not working, that sort of stuff. But it looks like at least we're exploring it and hopefully we'll be able to roll it out so that the town also has access to that. So if Randy identifies something at the school that Alan should look at, Randy can enter it into that system.
Yep.
Alan can see it, and then everyone can see when it's been looked at, when it's been addressed, and that sort of stuff. So it will create a record as well, and it will allow things, I think, to not fall through the cracks.
Yeah, and Alan, Bob, and Phil now have an account
That's so
to
great.
that. And they should have their sign-in information. Greg Cormier set them up. I'm not sure he emailed them their sign-in information yet, but they do have an account.
I think that was maybe my biggest concern was how do we do that with some consistency? And now there's a way, and that's really great. There will obviously be things that, I mean, we don't know what we don't know, and there will be things that come up. But I was so confident in that meeting that it's the right people sitting around the table. Everyone works really well together, and everyone's sort of committed to the fact that these buildings need to be maintained, and we're going to maintain them. We're going to figure it out. So it's a beautiful evolving work in progress, and I think it's something we should all be really proud of. Troy, do you have stuff that you want to add to that?
I would just repeat what you already said. I think the collaboration of people at that table and even others who aren't at that table is really working. And I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to resolve there will be things that'll come up. It'll be like, okay, well, who does this? Who takes care of this plumbing situation? Because it's minor plumbing right now. We know it's a school, major plumbing, the town. Well, there's probably medium issue plumbing things that could come up, and we're going to have a discussion. But I'm confident we'll be able to do that. And I think ultimately, I think it's better because I think there are people in the town that can help fix things that if we weren't working with them, we wouldn't necessarily know that. And we might call and pay more money than we need to get a repair.
It does seem as though one of the unintended consequences of this is that we're creating like a larger pool of resources
Mhm.
in terms of knowledge, and we're lucky to have who we have in place.
I just want to thank you guys for the time, because honestly, this has been something we've been talking. I've been on the board for 4 years, and when I got here, it had already been a conversation for multiple years of where is that balance between the town and the schools. And you guys have put in the time and the effort, and thanks to Bob and the people at the town, Alan, for all of the effort that went into this, because I think it's going to be really positive moving forward. So
I think it really is, and it's not terribly glamorous and really exciting on at face value, but it's a huge deal because those buildings are going to be maintained the right way. And so I think we should all be really proud of the work that went into that, because there has been a lot of collaboration involved. So that's really great. Kathy, anything you want to add? You were in that meeting too.
Nope.
Perfect. Well, then let's move on to the technology update.
Okay, so I'm really excited to explain to you our progress with technology this summer. I know last time I gave you a brief update, I didn't have a lot to say, but now I have a lot to say. Okay, so
I know, should I take that?
yeah, please take notes. I'll speak slowly. All right, so first of all, we're trying to improve learning opportunities for kids, and we want interactive whiteboards. And you generously finance some in your budget and your non-lapsing account. All 10 of those, plus the ones that were sitting in the tech room, minus one, because we need one sitting in that box because there were some that could die and we need to replace it, okay, are installed. They're ready to go. They're on the walls. We had to reinforce walls. We had to pay someone to come in and reinforce the walls because, as you know, some of the walls won't hold a 200-pound smartboard. There are some brackets in a box in the hallway that we're returning because those were brackets were recommended for us. And they said, oh, you can put these on any wall. You just need like drywall and it'll support. Well, they don't work. All right. So we had to rip the walls up, put more supports in and all that, but we got it done. And I can't say enough about Randy Rumrell and Greg Cormia and the IT staff at Learn that collaborated on that smartboard installation project, as well as multiple other technology projects. 144 Chromebooks have been delivered and are set up, ready to go. Okay. 46 teacher laptops are here. Okay, and some of those laptops are, people got them with the smartboard, with the docking station, with the big monitor. Okay, so that completely new setup. And people who had a smartboard that's not a new one have that setup as well. All right, so we do have a few, just a few other teacher laptops that we will distribute at the beginning of the year as we replace, hey, you have an old laptop from 2014, here's a new one. The way you want to back up some information, and because the teachers aren't here, so it's hard to do all of that over the summer, but tremendous progress. 38 cameras are here. Stephen Chance from Learn, he is a really good infrastructure person. He's the one that replaces the switches in the middle of the year. He's going to work with the company on Monday through Thursday next week. He's going to be here all day from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. installing all the cameras. So we're going to have full coverage in the district of cameras, including over here in this building. And so I even have the program on my my desktop already. So we should be good before the school year starts with all the cameras, a huge boost to our safety and security. I mentioned before, we have the MFA system, multi-factor authentication, which I did before the end of the school year. It was quite easy. We are finding there's a couple glitches with rolling it out to staff because of remember we did the email switch in the middle of the year from the K-12 to the Google. Well, that has caused a little bit of a glitch with the multi-factor authentication, but we're aware of it and we're correcting it and it'll all be fine. The students will be using a multi-factor authentication system, but it's really going to be like one thing. They're going to get like a QR code and just hold it up to the camera and they'll be able to log on, and they'll be able to log on to multiple programs with that. So they won't have to be signing on to different programs. So it's like a multiple single sign-on type system, which will make it more efficient for learning for the kids. And we're going to work with the kids on how to figure that out. We are going to charge Chromebook insurance fee to grade 6 and 12 because they're getting new Chromebooks that'll be carried back and forth from home to school. Okay, I put that in the parent letter, and we're going to figure out how to bill those parents. We may send them an invoice by email, and Kathy actually is going to be at the 9th grade orientation with Mariella and in helping to issue those out and kind of check off who's paid and all that. So we'll have a recording of that. There are other technology things down the road, like new firewall, some more new switches. We did order some switches. They haven't come in yet. We don't need them right at the moment. It might be like a December project where we replace some more switches, but we're okay for the moment, and we're okay for the moment with the firewall for probably another year. But we can kind of see how things go in the year. The tech department of Learn, just so you know, just to clarify, we have the director is two people sharing that at Learn. This Michelle Kazi and this Lance is like kind of like her co-partner, and they are like the director. She's been producing some emails and sending them out to the staff on different topics. And then we have Stephen Chance, who is he's more the IT coordinator. He comes from Learn, and he's like a really good network person, did the switches, going to monitor the camera installation. And then we're going to have another tech, as you know, because when we put the budget, we said we actually want another tech for a couple of days a week. So we'll have another tech. His name is Dylan. I don't know his last name off the top of my head. And then, of course, we have Greg Cormier. I can't say enough good things about Greg Cormier. He's been here for many years, but he has so stepped up this past year. He's learned how to do so many things. Honestly, he could be a director if he wanted to. He's learning so much, and he is so valuable to us. So if you see Greg Cormier, thank him for everything he's done. I was talking to Michelle Kazi, the director, today, and she was like, it's incredible, like what happened in this district in 1 year and into the summer. Like she hasn't seen it happen, this much progress. And we had progress to make, as you know, and you invested in it, and we're doing it. So you should feel proud of your part in that. I think we're going to be in really good shape with technology. That's my update.
I just have one quick question. The QR codes,
Yeah.
is that something the kids are going to carry around?
We're working on that. It's a program called Clever, which kind of does that single factor
Yeah.
thing. We're still working out the details of it. It might be that they get it in a little card. It might be for younger kids, probably the teacher just keeps a list
Okay.
of their passwords or
Okay.
their codes in a notebook, because then they're staying in the same place most of the time.
Right.
And they should give it to them when they need it, kind of thing, or
Okay.
recollect it. For the older kids, it might be that they keep it in their pocket or their phone, or I don't know. We're working it out. There's been a lot of discussion about it, but it's going to be better. It increases our security. It is safer for the kids and everybody.
No, I like it. I think it's a good idea. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, we just don't know every single detail
Yeah.
yet, but we're still discussing it, and we will be rolling it out.
Questions or comments for Troy on technology?
So every classroom now has a smart board that's functioning.
Every classroom does not. There's about 50 functioning smart boards in the district.
Okay,
So we're not there with every one.
I
having
see.
one.
Okay, do you know what the distribution is? Like, is there more in the high school?
So
or-
there was 5 of the new ones we purchased, of the 10, the 5 went into the elementary school, pre-K,
Okay,
1, 2, and kindergarten. So 5, and then 5 went at Wheeler.
okay.
And off the top of my head, I can't remember
No,
all the
that's okay.
classrooms.
But would you say like most of the smart boards are in the middle school, high school, or most of them? in
I think it's
elementary?
pretty evenly distributed.
Okay. And then, so 6th and 9th grade get the new Chromebooks. And then what did you take of the remaining, like, where are they distributed? Are they to the younger grades
So-
or?
So the 6th grade are getting, they're going to be using Chromebooks they use. Actually, they're going to use the ones they used last year, I think, is how
Okay.
it works. So the new ones will actually go to grade 5, but
Okay.
they're not taking them home.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we're not going to charge them the insurance this first year while they're not taking them home. Unless we change that. I mean, that could change during the year. We could decide like, all right, halfway a year, we think these kids are ready and there's a use for them to take them home. And then the other, so there's 9th grade ones, the 9th
Yeah.
grade to get the new ones,
Yeah.
and we're going to freshman orientation. And then the other ones are going to be distributed throughout K through 4.
Okay.
Okay, 2 per classroom.
Okay.
Okay, but they have some older ones in the classroom too. So the idea is we're trying to keep 10 functioning Chromebooks per classroom in K through 4.
Okay, perfect. So you
So-
do you have is there any holes? That's what I'm getting at. Like, are there any places where you're like, oh gosh, that wasn't enough, or you think you're fully covered?
I think what we'll probably want to do is add more smart boards and docking stations, for instruction. But I think what we want to do is we have professional development plans at the beginning of the year for the people that have them. And I think we can roll it out and come up with a plan to, add so many per year and like where they would go and that type of thing. So I wouldn't say we really have holes that we need to fill right now.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
but
great.
that could come up.
Yeah.
Does most of this follow the IT plan that was presented to
Yes,
us that we've
absolutely.
already put in place?
Yep,
Okay.
following the IT.
So we haven't
plan.
really strayed from that. This is following along with
It's
that.
following
plan.
along with the plan and you guys put us in good shape by spending some of your non-lapsing funds.
Anyone else?
My only question regards to like those earlier grades, even though they're classroom Chromebooks, is there availability for kids to take them home in situations where students might not have that tech at home and they need it for something? Because I know even in fifth grade, we had the IXL, we had a variety of different things that were happening. Can they sign them out?
That would be up to the principal and the teachers there to figure that out. I believe there probably has been cases where there's been a hardship and they've worked it out with the family. So I think they're always willing to try to meet family and student needs. But that would be something to work out with the teacher and the principal.
Can I ask one more question about the insurance? You said 5th and 12th are getting the new Chromebooks?
Oh,
Fifth and
so
5th and 9th.
yeah, 5th and 9th, but we're counting it as 6th and 9th because they're the ones taking a new Chromebook home. The 5th grade ones we got in the middle of the year. We're counting them as new.
Okay.
Okay. They weren't taking them home in grade 5. Okay. But now they're going to start taking them home. And when kids start taking a newer Chromebook home or a new Chromebook home, then we're going to charge them. That was kind of the logic
Okay.
to
No,
that.
because I
But
was
so if
reading.
kids are taking a 3-year-old Chromebook home, we're not charging them for the insurance.
Okay, no, because I when I was doing the paperwork, it says that grades 6 and 9 are going to receive them and they'll pay the $30 insurance. I
They
just
will.
wanted-
They,
okay,
yeah, 6 and 9 are going to pay the
6 and
$30
9.
insurance.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And we're not forcing them to pay it. We just say, if you don't pay it, you're going to be liable to the cost of the replacement, the whole thing, if it's even accidental damage.
I really appreciate the detail of this report. And I appreciate that you and your team were able to get this done. It was a pretty big undertaking. And last month it felt a little bit like there was a lot of stuff in the air. And this is great. I'm really excited to see that the resources that we allocated are going to be used and that you've built in the PD for teachers who maybe haven't used this kind of technology before. You're not just saying, figure it out. You're giving them some training and I think it's money well spent. Thank you. Okay, so we can move on to the academic dishonesty policy that we talked about last time. It said in that policy that we would review the regulation. So Troy provided us with the regulation. Troy, do you want to speak about that?
Sure.
Bye, Kathy. Thank you.
Bye, Kathy. This just provides a little bit of detail about, what we're looking, how kids can use AI, how teachers can allow kids to use AI. And, is basically saying that you can't be having AI do your work for you and hand it in as your own. Right. I mean, that's kind of common sense, but I think it's good to have it in writing. But we do want to encourage teachers to allow the students to use AI if it's going to actually accelerate their learning. And they're going to actually learn better by using AI as a tool than if they didn't use it. And there are ways to do that. So that's one of the challenges of being a teacher these days is things change, the tools and techniques of instruction change so rapidly, it's hard to keep up. But AI is something we do have to embrace in ways that will help kids and prepare them for the future. Because like almost every job that they're going to get, even now, may use AI on a regular basis in some capacity. So if we have kids graduating from here with no knowledge or skills in using AI appropriately, we're actually doing them a disservice. So that's it. So it's just as in the handbook. This is what it says. I think it's good the way it is. But this is for you to review, not to approve. But certainly if you have input, we could take the input and I can tell the administrators what the input is and they can consider making some changes to it.
Questions or comments on the regulation? Okay, well then consider it reviewed. New business. Troy talked to us a little bit about a library media aid position, and we requested a job description. And he provided that in the packet. You want to talk us through that?
Sure. We believe that we should have the library open more. I had mentioned it before, like we were looking at possibilities of having maybe teachers on duty cover some of the hours, which will happen to a certain degree, especially when there's like a study hall in there. But with reducing the library media position to a 0.4, which would be equivalent of 2 days a week, we still needed to figure out how we were going to manage some hours. We're kind of hoping maybe there would be, a para available for some time, or like I said, the teacher duty and that type of thing. But how things have evolved is we had to add out there at 40%, and we got just like hardly any interest at all for that. And then we decided, all right, well, let's put it out at 20% time. And we found a person who was actually really qualified, had just retired from Greenwich Public Schools, has a really nice resume. And we said, yeah, you could help us 1 day a week. And so what that did was it freed up half of what we allocated towards the salary for a person. And we could hire a library aide for 26 hours a week and use that other half of the funds for that and stay within the budget. And we could cover nearly all the hours of the Library Media Center. So it's open to kids when they want to get in there. And we can train that assistant or that aide to check out books, check in books, help kids find things, help them research. Also, if they have a broken Chromebook, well, that's where they can hand it in and get another one. And that person can do that. So it can actually keep things functioning under the guidance of the librarian, who seems to have a really good vision, along with Kristen and her staff, about how we can evolve the library media services to be very modern and to really service the kids better. So I'm thinking this arrangement could work really well. And I think it will. And we could actually start it before the school day. So when we have kids come early, like from other towns that pay tuition to come here, and we need to supervise them, well, we can have someone there to do it in the Library Media Center. So I think it's a win-win situation at this point. I have not put out the ad because I wanted to talk to you about it, and you were interested in seeing the job description. So there it is.
Thoughts from people about the job description, about this plan in general?
I think it sounds really good.
Thank you. It was a real collaboration with, especially Kristen, and really thinking about it and thinking outside the box and how to make things work. So, yeah.
Okay. Moving on to Cub Club. Do you want to talk to us about year 2?
Yes, please. So we have over 40 students enrolled for year 2. We have for staffing, we do have the director, Deb Dwyer, same director. We do have 2 staff members who are going to be involved. One is, they're both employed. One is a para by us, and one is a cafeteria aide. And right now we don't have any student workers scheduled, but we hope to get some, especially as the numbers grow, and we expect the numbers of students to grow. We did raise the cost this year. It was at $4 per hour. Now it's $5 per hour. And so basically the morning was $8. Now it's 10. Okay. The afternoon was $10. Now it's $12.50. Okay. Because it's 2.5 hours. We had one parent ask about it, but no one has really complained about the cost increase. We think it was a really, really good deal last year. Okay. So much that at times during the year, we were in the red, like significantly in the red, especially when there was like 3 payrolls, right, to pay the staff. And it was a little scary about making it work. And you guys had allocated $35,000 in non-lapsing for the first year to cover things and all that. And Deb Dwyer got some grants for supplies. And we purchased a few supplies with the revenue, but she may not get those grants in future years. And we, as it turns out, we were in the red by $542. That's not bad. It's like 80, something like 68,000 expenses. Okay. And we were in the red 542. That's pretty close, right? But when you look at the fact when we hire student workers, and we hope to do that, and the minimum wage is now higher this year. And part of what we have to pay is in the Social Security tax, and we weren't figuring that in the first year, like for the director and everything. It's not just the hourly rate, it's hourly rate plus other expenses to have an employee. So we wanted the program to work. So we felt like if we raised the cost in the second year, and hopefully we can keep it that way for a while, if we just monitor how it's going, that was the right thing to do. So that's the update I have. Any questions?
Where did you cover the red?
What's that?
Where did you cover the shortage?
It was fiscal year 25, just covered it
Okay,
in the budget. Last year's budget.
you covered out of the budget.
Yes.
Okay.
We could have, I don't know,
Just
his
moving-
timing was tough with
Yeah, we
it,
just,
so,
just moving forward, I get it, and it wasn't
Yeah.
that much money, I'm not gonna split hairs over it, but just moving forward, we don't have any money in the budget for Cub Club, and I think we kind of wanted to always make sure for liability reasons and everything
Oh.
else that was separate.
I understand.
So, no, and I don't think,
Yeah.
no harm will follow for
Yeah.
sure, but just kind of moving forward.
Yeah, I understand what you're
That's
saying.
kind of back to Jamie's point. Do we want to flag a little bit of money, at least maybe not 35,000, but something for it to cover a shortage like that, or?
Or I would also say that can be that situation where if you had brought us the $542, I think we all would have been like, sweet, this was a good program. We raised a little bit. It'll work next year. We cover it out of non-lapsing. And do those things individually in that moment. I don't even know if we need to flag it as long as, I mean,
Yeah, right. I can let you know if I can give you like updates and be like, okay, no, we're still doing well, or no, it looks like we're going in the red,
Yeah.
and get ready because you might want to spend.
Yeah, and it's more like just for bookkeeping
I agree.
purposes than it being an issue
That
by
was
any
better.
stretch.
Yeah, that'd be better.
I think that $542 for a new program that, I mean, when we pulled it together, it was like, we think that we can make it work with this fee structure. I would say that this was a huge success. And that we've really added something to the district. And to hear that 40 kids already have signed up, that to me says that this is something that people needed. It wasn't a novelty. People have choices. This is the choice that they're making. And I think this makes a difference for families in our district. So, but it's just really exciting. And $542 is out of 67,000 is just great.
well, and the positive feedback on this program. I mean, I had both my kids in it every morning. They loved it. I know of multiple families whose kids did the afternoon some days just to not go home and have better activities to be doing with their time as opposed to going home and sitting in front of the TV or something, right? And the number of families who have just had massively positive things to say about this program. I think it's great that it's running, and I think Deb's done an amazing job. So
That's great. Any other questions, comments about Cub Club? Okay. Changes for the upcoming school year. The first is parent pickup at the elementary school.
So, Mr. Salino, working with his dismissal team and observing how things have been going, decided that things could be going smoother and be safer. And so he ran it by his school improvement team, and they all agreed that, yeah, this would be a better scenario. So what happened is students have been coming outside the building and then being passed off to their parents outside the building. And I think this happened because of the pandemic, that this new system of parents not going into the building to sign their student out. All right, that ended because of pandemic. We didn't want to pass viruses around and things like that. But now we don't have the pandemic. But what they realized, they were not real comfortable with the situation because you had a lot of parents getting out of their cars, going onto the sidewalk, waiting for the kids to come out, socializing, which is great because people are human. They need human contact and all that, and wonderful. But then it makes it harder to see kids through the people standing there. And are they going in between the cars and all that? And they felt like, let's make a change before something happens. And so if the parents, most of them out of the cars, or a lot of them out of the cars anyway, and they're already parked there, lined up. They're not like in parking spaces. And some are, but a lot are just lined up in two lines so that they can just pull out. Well, let's just invite them into the building a couple more steps, sign out your student, and we can actually have a real signature about who's taking the kid. And then a little bit more lack of liability on the school's part, really, because we're releasing the kid to the parent in the school building. So we're not having the kids go outside and then it's handing over the liability that way. Rob he indicated to me the number of parent pickups has decreased over time, and he feels like he can do it in one wave. It used to be two waves that they would have one group leave and then the other group pull up, but he thinks he can do it in one wave, and it may add a few minutes for a few people, but he feels like it'd be a much safer system. So that's what he's doing. He has communicated it to his families, and certainly he could have parents ask him, and he's willing to talk to anybody who's concerned. He had no one question it at all.
Well,
at
it's the
this
way
point,
we used
but-
to do it. and it
I was going to
super
say, this
easy.
is,
Yeah.
I remember doing it just like
You
this.
had two tables, you knew when your class was being dismissed, so you were
Yeah.
either one of the first ones or one of the last ones, and it was very easy. You walked in, you grabbed your kid, and signed out, and you left. It's super easy.
It was super easy, but the difference is the parking. So the reason that it went to this process, because in kindergarten, when my kid was in kindergarten, he was over in this building. They had the parking lot over behind the old cafetorium, whatever it was, caffeinasium. Doesn't matter. Over behind there, you could park over there, and then you could walk in. You could do it. So you would pick up your kid, you get back in your car, you pull out of your parking space, you
I know,
go
but before
away.
that, it was over there.
It was over there in the
We
same
did it over
process.
there.
Oh, yeah. The
Because-
only difference
because-
was the parking. So we used to park in the parking lot that was there and walk in. And now Rob's just going to have the parents pull up like
Yeah.
they do
Which-
now and get out of their car and go in.
Which,
Yeah, we had
which
to
was,
look
I
for a
have to be
spot.
honest, the only concern that I have going with it, like, whatever, right? But multiple parents have talked to me since getting this letter about the fact that they think they're going to send their kid home on the bus instead of doing parent pickup because they don't want to deal with a new process because people don't like change. Now, that's totally okay, right? It's a parent choice to be doing that. We eliminated a bus largely due to the fact that we had so many parent pickups that were occurring that it lessened the number of people that we had on buses. So if we're going to end up in a space where there's a variety of people who
Okay.
suddenly say, I don't want to deal with this new process, and then they put their kids back on the
We
bus, is that
still
going
have
to be
to
a
provide
problem?
a seat for every single child on those buses, whether they do parent pickup or not. So there should be room on every bus for
No,
those kids.
but the issue that people had talked about when we had gotten rid of the bus was the time, not the seats available. So we would have the seats available, but all of a sudden you might have a kid who, was on a bus that took him 45 minutes to get home. And now they're instead taking an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes. And at what point is that still? No, I'm saying that if you are going to add another 6 stops onto a bus, then you're going to add at least 2 minutes per kid. It's going to extend that stuff going forward. I'm just putting it out there because I know that I've had at least a dozen conversations with parents who have asked me about why this was happening and made comments to me about, well, I may just have my kid take the bus, then it'd be easier. And I
Well,
would just be
let 'em
concerned
try
about
it
that.
First, just, let the process try. 'Cause
Again, I'm putting it
Yeah.
out there because I know I've heard a lot about it. And by hearing a lot about it, I figure it may manifest itself into something.
I have to second that. I've heard a lot of comments from parents. I've had a parent comment to me that they have little kids that are like in their little booster seats, and now they have to take them out and bring them in. Like it's not a perfect solution. I am concerned about the parking situation as well. Having dealt with it over here and also over there, it's crazy. Like parents are coming and going. They're not necessarily, I think we have this vision that it's going to be this very nice ordered, everybody's going to sit and wait, where I don't know if that's really going to happen given the experiences we've had in the past, where I think it could be improved, but I'm really concerned about this kind of parking. Is there going to be parking? What if you can't find a parking spot? Then what do you do? Are you driving around? Are you waiting for one to open up?
So
And-
just to give you kind of a visual of how it happened before, to see if it helps people a little bit. So we would park, there was middle school, high school parking because a lot of stuff was out. We would park wherever we parked. We'd walk to the building. Some would hold littles, some would not. We'd stand in a line actually on the sidewalk. And then we'd be let in when it was time. There'd be a table A through M and through Z. We'd see our kids' classroom come by, they'd come out, we'd grab them, and away we would go. And it really, I think probably it's the change that is concerning more than it being that it's going to be that cumbersome. It really was pretty smooth and pretty easy. And I think those families had young ones in bucket seats as well. And, it's probably not perfect, but I think that Rob and his team have probably thought this out. They weighed out the pros and the cons. The safety comes first of the kids. And I would say, let's give it a shot and see how it goes. And if it really is as big of a problem as we're concerned about, then maybe we leave it up to them to kind of address it and make those tweaks.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it could work, but it's not that we just leave. We have to wait now for everybody to get in their car and then leave. And then the other thing is the sports. Like when sports are happening, it's almost, there's no parking and it's almost treacherous because there's just like kids running and back and forth and getting ready. Not that I'm blaming sports, but I'm just saying that it just is very busy. Yes. So I'm hoping could they revisit this in like a couple weeks? Because I have significant concerns.
But I mean, it did work though. It worked for a long time, up until 5
But it
years
worked
ago.
with a different parking lot system,
No.
right?
Not really.
They didn't.
When my kids
I
were
thought one of the
little,
big complaints now they have, but I thought that
Now we actually have a little more parking available, and we were never allowed to pull up along the curb. So we
Right.
had to find a
That's the
space
difference. There's
somewhere.
no parking along the curb
So-
in the front. Everybody just found parking spots and walked.
So I understand that all the parents.
again, I'm not arguing that we don't do this. I think that Rob is the expert in this aspect and that his team is the one who's putting this together. I just think that it's important that when we hear concerns in the community from our peers, that we bring it up when these things come up. So I wanted to make everybody aware that although Rob hasn't received calls about it, I think people would much rather chat at somebody that they're around than make a phone call to Rob. And so I wanted to make sure that the board is aware there are a bunch of people who are annoyed and concerned.
I just wanted to maybe set their mind at ease a little bit as a parent who always 100% of the time had to, walk in and sign out her kid and, and went through the process. And then again, when, prior to the pandemic, when we were still doing that, picking up my grandson when he was like in, I don't know, pre-K, first grade, and I had my other little granddaughter, and I would take her out of her car seat and lug her in, it was kind of a pain, but we did it and it was smooth. And so I was always used to doing that. So I know that it would work fine. However, on the other end, when I started picking up Leo at school, when they were brought to the car, I was like, my mind was blown. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do they know even what cars to get to, and one time, because, they would expect a parent to come. I didn't pick up Leo every day, just once in a while. And so an aide or someone had walked Leo to the car and she didn't know who I was. And she's like, well, do you know his code? I'm like, code? What code? I don't have a code. But she did ultimately let him get it. But I'm just saying, I understand like the confusion and the liability that that the school may have, because different people do pick up the children, rather than when you sign out, I'm already on a list to be able to sign out, and they know that, when I go and sign out. So I think the security is better, and any kind of change is hard if you're not used to doing something, to get used to maybe, but it works. I just want to maybe set mine to these if anyone says something.
I was just gonna say that sorry, it's a little loud. I know now we have the gravel lot, and maybe we could coordinate with the high school to like really make sure that we don't have anybody parking in there past when the high school gets out. Or if it's like we kind of configure the parking spots, because I know that a lot of people, I know myself included, did park in the gravel lot because we had some overflow across the street and it was a little tedious to have to walk across, but we could be better at like reinforcing and kind of making sure that people are parking where they're supposed to be, or having, I know there were some staff members either reconfiguring, making sure that there's enough staff parking, or simply just kind of having rule, like if you're going to park in the gravel lot, you have to kind of be out by the time that parent pickup would show up. That way there will be more spaces. There already aren't, like usually around that time, there's a lot of freer space, but we could just work a little bit more with the middle high school to make sure that it's enforced.
Do students still get receive like a parking pass, almost like to get permission? So 100 cars obviously aren't going to fit for students. Is there a limit of the number of students that can park? And prior to COVID, I think students weren't allowed to park in the Wheeler High School parking lot. It was.
So what it used to be was it was kind of more of like a free-for-all almost. There wasn't assigned parking, but it was kind of like, so my older sister, she would like, all the seniors would park in the front, and then the juniors would kind of know that they're supposed to be in the back. Now, this past year, they did assign parking, but there was a large amount of both seniors, juniors, and sophomores who needed parking, and there wasn't enough space. So obviously the seniors everybody did have to apply for a parking pass. You weren't allowed to park without one, but it wasn't enforced in that gravel lot. But you would be assigned a specific spot. So the seniors would still get the front, they would have priority for the back, then the juniors, and then there was still a large overflow. But the exact parking wasn't done correctly because there was a lot of people who would park in the dirt lot, which isn't monitored by the school, but they would still have an assigned space. So I think just like kind of working through the assign, which I think it was just, there was a lot of hiccups because it was a new system, but I think just kind of working through those could just make it more efficient.
I know that was
Sorry,
really
I
good.
just have one more question. So the app is being used or not utilized?
No, the app is being used, and
Okay.
there's some advantages to still using the app.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
parents can check, because I guess I was reading the instructions, I was unclear. So parents still can do it, they check in and sign? I guess if we're paying for the app, I want to make sure. That's why I'm trying. So why are we
Yeah,
paying for an
I
app?
thought it read
Yeah.
that we don't check in on the app, that the teachers use the app, but
Yeah.
the parents don't use the app and they just go in and sign them out.
Yeah, I can't remember every detail of it, but I know in talking to Rob, there was a couple of real good advantages to still using the app. It might be that the parents aren't checking in with it
Right.
because they're physically going in,
Right.
but parents are still able to change on the app themselves who's allowed to pick up. So that's an advantage. And then the other advantage is we have an electronic record of who picked up the child and when, all in one place versus having multiple pieces of paper on clipboards. So I think those are the two advantages. And I remember, I don't remember the part about the parent checking in or not. But that is an
I believe
advantage
it
of
said
having the
parent
app
wouldn't
too.
Check in, they would just,
Yeah,
you can update all of your
Yeah.
stuff on it, but the parents wouldn't use the app, but the teachers would still use the
Yeah.
app once you sign them out.
Okay, on to electronic forms. This is pretty exciting, I think, and something that we've been talking about for years. So we're reducing paper forms.
so this is a great example of productive conversations with my administrative team. We talk about a lot of issues, and this is one of the issues we talked about this summer was the amount of paperwork that parents have to fill out each year, the beginning of each year, and the redundancy of it, and especially when they have multiple children in the district, even in different schools. So it actually is a real problem, a challenge, but we thought about it and quickly came up with this plan, and each of my administrators actually produced a different Google form for different reasons. One is like the walking field trip form, which you can now just fill out one form for all of your children. If you have 5 children, you can just list their names, right? And so you're filling out one form instead of 5. All right. And it's electronic, it's not paper. And then there's other forms. And I think they're pretty clearly labeled on the webpage. And I put out the parent letter and I sent a reminder out. And I'll send another reminder out early next week about the forms and kind of monitor. People are filling them out because we can monitor them coming in. So we're really hoping it will be easy, and my administrators are quite confident that what happens is when you hit submit, all your data goes to an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, right? Which can then be manipulated and sorted and all that. And they're going to have all the data there, and they're very comfortable. They're going to be able to use that data for what they need it for. So really excited about that. And so this is like our first go of it. We said, hey, let's get this out. Let's do it. They were all excited about it, and I'm happy to get some positive feedback from people saying, hey, this is a good thing. Oh, gosh.
I just have one question. So to quote Chet, that when you hear concerns, so when you fill out the Google Forms, the one about the directory information,
Yeah,
on,
that's not a Google form. That's a printout.
right, but
Right.
it actually says directory information may be released by the district to anyone who requests it unless I object in writing, including the name, address, telephone number, place of birth, yada, yada, yada. We're not giving that out to anyone, right? Like, we have to object to that information.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, so like I showed Christine earlier, the form that goes with it is our policy 5145.15. And the first paragraph of that says that it shall not be distributed without consent of the parent. So I feel like they,
But yeah, kind of
contradict each other.
contradictory, isn't it?
yeah,
It sounds like that. I'll have to
Yeah.
review that. What you're pointing out.
okay.
We'll have to look at
I
that.
can give you my copies.
Maybe we got to clarify that.
Okay.
But the idea behind that one was we didn't make it a fillable document. We
Right.
just had to print it a PDF out because most it seems in the past, most parents don't fill out that form. Okay, there are some do and say, yeah, don't photograph my child,
Right.
and that's on that form and other information. So because we figured fewer people would fill it out, we don't want everybody to fill it out. If the default is we can give out the information.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
default. I'll have to look at that policy that you're
Right.
mentioning and how it seems to be contradictory.
But
And
we
I
shouldn't be giving that information out to anybody who asks for
Right.
it. There would
Well-
have to be a specific reason why
Right.
they would need that information.
Well,
Can I,
yeah,
can I
please.
chime in? I think in some cases that opt-out form really applies to military recruiters. Because I think they can
Yeah.
request it at any time and get it, and I
That's
believe
what it
you
is.
have to opt out from releasing it to them. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's what it's for.
And I agree. It just, the one that makes
Hmm.
me nervous or made people nervous is it says district information may be released by the district to anyone who requests it unless I object in writing to the release of any and all information within 10 days of the time that I sign the handbook. So it sounds like unless you sign it within 10 days,
Right.
I can,
anybody, right, which
Yeah.
made a few people nervous, including myself.
yeah,
'cause
yeah,
I
Brian,
like my
Brian's right
children's
about the military,
privacy.
information, like you can't say, you can't have it. But let me look at that. I'll look at that tomorrow, and kind of clarify, what that is. Yeah, if you want to hand it to me, that'd be more helpful. I'll look at that and we'll try to get some clarity around that issue. Thank you for pointing that out.
Any other questions or comments on the electronic? vote?
The only other thing would be that policy that Judy referenced. It was passed in '09. It's not right. It says, it has the language and then it says alternate language. Like it was passed with both languages in
Yeah.
it. We
And I
should
pulled that
probably,
off our website today.
we should revisit that
We have a
policy.
variety of those. Whenever I am looking at a new policy that comes up as one that we're supposed to reference, half the time it has the regulation in it. It has alternate language in it. It has again, it was why, I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago, I requested, and it's still like on our website next to policy, that our policy is under review.
Yeah, but
because-
I'm just wondering, as we come across one like this.
Yeah,
Oh,
one,
no,
fix
and when we come across, that's great, and I'll reference.
So maybe we just do this one. I think it would probably, we don't have to do it tonight, obviously, but I think it would probably take us all of 5 minminutes to clean this one up. And if people are referencing it when doing this new
Five-
electronic stuff.
5145.15.
Yeah. Because I agree with you. There's a bunch, but I'd say if we can just chip away one
Oh, no,
here and
that's why every
there.
time I come across them, I try and bring them to you and say, this one doesn't make any sense, but
Yeah, so Judy, I wanted to chime in that I also experienced that too. And then I was trying to read, I'm like, is it not doing it? Like, so, and I wanted to clarify that it's helpful if you just highlight that and then put that in the line of like what you don't want, right? So I took everything other than name and just copied it and put
That's
it
what we're trying
in,
to
but
get
I don't,
at.
I agree.
But
I
maybe
think it
the
would be
form
easier if it was a
doesn't
box
communicate
or something to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
clarify it, because it took
This-
me like
this is the
3
right
times
version.
to read that form.
I actually read it a
We can
couple
fix it.
times and then I had my brother read it.
fix
I'm like, am I reading this the right way?
Yeah.
No, I agree, Jamie.
I think you're right. I will look into it tomorrow. We'll get it resolved. Thanks for pointing it out.
Okay, moving on to the last change for the upcoming school year, the communication plan.
Okay, so we're working on, district communication plans, and this is not a complete plan. Okay, so this is where we're at now. I met with my administrative team and we agreed that we would all use this Bright Arrow, which we're paying for. This is the system I use to call off school during a snow day. And we can send it out by just email. We can send it out email and text, and we can also add a voice, phone call. Okay, so like when I call off school, I do all 3. When it's just general information, typically I'll just send an email. Okay, or recently I sent an email and a text reminding people about the forms, and you could click on the forms link right on your phone. You could fill all it out on your phone. The principals of each school and their secretaries are now going to be using Bright Arrow for mass communication. That goes to everybody. Okay, so that's where we're at with Bright Arrow. Individual teachers, I mean, they're home in the summer. We can't say to them, oh, you must use Bright Arrow now, when they already use something that works for them, like Remind or Facebook or whatever they use for their class, right? So we are going to have that discussions, and we do have the capability and have the teachers use it. And some teachers may want to start using it, but to force it on people, isn't the right thing to do, especially given a little time. But anyway, there's some consistency, so parents will be able to rely on any communications coming from the district or from the schools going to the whole parent group will come from Bright Arrow. Okay, so we've got to that point. We are also looking to make sure that each school has a Facebook account and the district has a Facebook account. Okay, we're trying to develop. We've had one in a district, and we've put in some things on there over the years, but we haven't used it on a regular basis. Okay, so now there's a message up there that says we can't wait to welcome our students on Thursday, August 28th. But we hope to use it more, and so that's another area where parents will be able to go for some information if they're like, hey, what's going on at Wheeler tonight? Well, maybe they can find out what time the concert starts, by going there. But we also have the webpage. which is part of the communication plan, right? So anyway, I want to have a more elaborate comprehensive communication plan eventually developed, but that's where we're at right now.
Can I am so thrilled about the fact that I have almost all of my messages from the school coming from one email address. So when I need to remember, it used to be that I had to search for Kelly, but then I had to search for the district, and I had to search for, when I was looking back to go, wait, when did I get this? What was this from? Now I just search for that email address. It brings up all of the messages I've gotten in the past couple of weeks, and I can be like, okay, that's the one that was about the sports meeting. Okay, that was the one. I know my organization process in that is not spectacular, that I search for my emails to be able to remember what I'm doing, but I'm not the only one who does it. And it's a really so much more streamlined process than what it used to be. So that alone makes me so happy coming in, like between the electronic forms and the single email address for almost all the messages coming, it clears out a lot of clutter.
And you can download the Bright Arrow app. And then you could just go to app to see all those communications coming from the schools in one place. So you don't have to search your email inbox. And we'll have help to set up the app at each of the back to school nights.
Thank you.
So I know you said, getting teachers to kind of navigate out of what is comfortable for them. Is the plan eventually over time to have them navigate into the system and have everyone using the same communication system, or?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We don't know. I mean, it's possible to do that, but we also need to ensure that it makes sense for a teacher to use this.
Right.
And it works well
And it might not be.
for their students and their families.
And it might not work well. I did have one other concern because you said, some teachers might be communicating through Facebook or something like that.
Well, I was just making it up. I don't know.
I
Just other ways that they communicate that works for them.
But the only thing I want to just make sure that we're clear on is that anytime we communicate with families or students, the state actually has a list of like communication services that protect student data that we probably should be.
Like Class Dojo,
Yeah,
for
like
example,
something
like
like
some of
that,
the,
yeah.
some of the teachers
So,
use
like,
that. I probably should use that as an example.
But you may want to make
But,
sure that.
I was
anything
thinking
we're
about
using
in
has that.
my long past about communication with families. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about here. So
No,
I had a lot of
understood.
teachers who use Class Dojo or one of the other approved methods of communication.
Hey, Troy, can you clarify Bright Arrow Parent Hub or Bright Arrow Mobile 2.1? They both say communication or education on them.
Is it the one with the archer?
They both are. One is purple and one is white.
It's a hub. It's called Hub.
Parent Hub. Okay.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you for the communication update. Moving on to some old business, and we put this off for a while, but I'm glad we did because we have Anna tonight. So that's great. Student ambassadors. We were talking, I think, in the springtime about how do we engage our student ambassadors in a way that's more meaningful and more authentic to the issues that are sort of like happening right then. And so I sat down with Kristen St. Germain in early June. And she talked to me about how we started doing it the way we were doing. And that's really just that we had student ambassadors and we needed to sort of integrate them into the meetings. And so she said, ultimately, the student ambassadors are delivering the reports that the administrators used to deliver. And while that's great, it's not necessarily authentically theirs. And so I like the reports, I like the information, but I think that it's sort of interchangeable, right? Anybody could deliver that. It doesn't have anything to do with a student ambassador. And so I get nervous that we're putting pressure on them and asking them to do things that maybe it's too cumbersome. But she said to me, you could maybe be a little more flexible with them and let things sort of be more fluid, and they should be invited to every meeting. We didn't invite them during budget season, but if they're part of the board, they should just be part of the board and be a little bit less structured. So we could continue to hold that space when the chair and the superintendent give a report at that meeting that there's a student ambassador report for them to report out on whatever they want to report out on then. But if they're reviewing agendas and have items that they want to chime in on, like tonight you just did, and of course we'll have to do a better job pulling that out at first. But also, I was thinking about some of the stuff that we've talked about recently, technology, lunches, facilities. Those are all places where student ambassadors could really give a different perspective than we're getting. It also, I think, creates an opportunity if you want to start talking to students about things, like parents talk to us, students talk to you. And it would be great for you to be able to bring in student perspectives when you want to. And then when Troy and I were talking about it, we even talked about what if a student ambassador had an agenda item that they wanted to add. They could go to Troy and alert him, and then Troy and the chair could say, like, okay, so the student ambassadors want to address this. Can we work this into the agenda? I think it could really be more meaningful for everyone. So that was sort of the feedback that Kristen gave me, and then Troy and I had an opportunity to talk about it, and that's sort of what came out of our meeting too. Do other people have different feelings about how to do this?
Just getting the feedback more.
Yeah.
I definitely think maybe it's pausing at the end of some of these things to ask them directly, do you have any feedback? Because sometimes it's not very comfortable to interject yourself without being asked. Yeah. So, but your feedback was really helpful tonight, and more of that would be super fantastic instead of expecting you to give a 15-minute report.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that sometimes it is hard to know, like, is this my place? But even though it's like, oh, it's very asserted that obviously anything is my place as a student ambassador, but still sometimes there is that fear just because it is a newer thing. I know that I have a much easier time talking about things compared to some of like maybe other ambassadors, maybe newer ones. I definitely think that it would be good to be involved in budget season because a lot of the stuff you're talking about, okay, new Chromebooks, new facilities, that kind of thing, where it's like I can give insight onto what I think that we need and whether or not that is something that will be fitting into the budget is like a different story. But I think just bringing up those concerns is good. Another thing would be the reports, I think, are good. They have made some changes to where we kind of interject and we add some more information and insights. Like when Wellness Day was going on, I was able to talk about like what I saw at the elementary school because that's what I was experiencing. So I think that there is positives within that. I do think that the reports are good because it is a good way to spread information. And I think just kind of getting students' voice out there, even though anybody else could say it, is just a better thing to be able to involve high school, younger students into kind of like civic duty and being involved in the town. I remember like in our civics class, we had to attend a board meeting. And I think I went to a Board of Finance one when I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore. And it was very interesting. And I didn't go again. But I think, well, I mean, except
Super interesting.
mostly just because it didn't, it wasn't kind of some right. It wasn't that it was I wanted to, but it just I didn't have that drive, which I think now it's a good way to get people involved in. And I definitely really liked coming during budget season. I think I don't remember how many of the budget meetings I came to, but I did enjoy the ones that I attended. But I think just being able to be more open and talking more about the student experience on different issues would be beneficial.
And I think you've been a wonderful student ambassador, and I appreciate all the student ambassadors who have stepped up the last couple of years. You're way more than just saying a report. I like that you seem naturally comfortable with interjecting or introducing your ideas and stuff, and I appreciate that. And you're a good leader for your peers. I do think delivering a report is important for student ambassadors, especially initially, because it gets you used to speaking. So it's not really that anybody can do it. I mean, anybody can read a thing, but you're reading a report and you're just putting yourself out there a little bit, and you're saying what you want to say, but that's before what you hear at the meeting. So I like that you're comfortable, and I hope that future student ambassadors would be comfortable enough in the meeting after they've said stuff, after they've heard things, to offer their opinions and input, because certainly your perspective can drive our decisions, making the district an even better place than what it is. And I appreciate all you do, have done.
So if it's okay with everyone, we'll continue to hold that space for a student ambassador report once a month. And that report should look however you all decide you want that report to look. And then obviously you're getting agendas now. Those are being emailed to you.
I haven't received any agenda.
Okay, so we're gonna make sure that you get the agendas just like we do, get the packet ahead of time so you can see what's on there. And yeah, we want you to be here and engaged, and let's keep it sort of fluid. What you want to address and talk about, you should. And if there are things that you want to tell us about or a student perspective, we really want to hear it. Right. Consent agenda, we have to approve minutes from 7:23 and move our financials from tonight to the Board of Finance. Does someone want to make a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just really quick, I really appreciate the format of the minutes. Super easy to read, direct, detailed, just really kudos to putting those together in a really good format. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Excellent. Calendar, actually, Troy put the dates in his report just because we're moving back to our 2 meeting schedule. Troy in his report listed the next few meeting dates. And I just wanted to bring them to everybody's attention. I'll just say them out. September 10th and September 24th at 6:30 are the September meetings. I think that's all for calendar. Beely, comments for future agenda items. I just wanted to say out loud what you all have been saying over the last few months to sort of recap what I have in my notes. So I could just see it. It would be great. I don't know why I can't. Sorry, I'm having a technical difficulty. There we go. Re-engaging in the bylaw revisions. Chat had mentioned this several months ago, and he would like to start doing that in September. So we'll make sure that gets on the agenda. We talked about revisiting the school lunch improvements, some of the sustainability practices, and then any further partnerships with the sustainability committee. We talked about doing that in September as well. Anna, I think that would be a really great place for student ambassador input. The financial procedures manual, we talked about circling back to in October, and tonight in our finance committee meeting, Troy and Kathy were talking to us about how they're continuing to update those. We talked about revisiting the field and facility use policies and practices once we were into the school year a bit, letting Randy and Byrne sort of sit with those and make some recommendations to us. I don't have a specific time assigned to that, but that is something that was on that list. And then discussion of the transition of officers as the chair and the vice chair will depart the board this year. So I don't know when you want to have that. I'm not sure how fruitful that discussion is with a transition of people, but certainly if you want to put it on the agenda for October, we could do that.
I would like to put it on the agenda for October.
I'm going to note October is the time. Any thoughts on the field use and policies and practices when you want to see that?
So that one was when we had been trying to set up a meeting, and there were a variety of things going on through the beginning of August here, and so it created some conflicts, and we weren't able to get a meeting in. Once we get a meeting in, we can
Do
report
you
out
want to
on
just
it.
say the word when you're ready?
That would be great.
Okay.
Because what we can do
Let's
is
do
we'll
that.
get our meeting in, and honestly, we can report out via email, and then once we report out via
That's
email,
awesome.
have it go that way.
I think,
I would also maybe suggest, this would just, maybe I'm off base on this, but with the food thing, do we want to give a couple months as opposed, I mean, if we have it in our September meeting, it's going to be like 2 weeks of lunch,
yeah, I think part of it might have been that Kathy was going to talk to them about,
what she was going to do.
Like,
But she had a
trays, but
couple
we
of
can
different
wait.
sets of things. I think maybe we want to push that to the first meeting in November, or the only meeting, I guess, in November.
okay,
And say that way, what we can look at is those 2 months, see, and figure out what we want to do. Do we want to survey kids? Do we want to, look at it in a different way? Is there a way that we can figure out to address it? I just think too early is not going to be fruitful.
all right, I've changed the note. Anything else that people want to have on future agendas that wasn't in that list?
I was just gonna say for the surveys, if I get like 2-3 weeks notice, then we can start implementing it before the meeting, the November meeting, and then I can report on it at that meeting. That way we still have that
Oh, that's
time.
nice too.
And then it would be prepared for then instead of pushing it off.
Great. So if you want to coordinate with Mr. Hopkins and Mrs. St. Germain about like timing of that and what sort of questions, I think hearing results of what the kids think as part of that discussion is awesome. Great. Okay. I think we're close here, people. Let's see. We're totally at public comment. Is there any public comment online? Okay, so I'm going to need a motion to go into executive session, just so that the public knows we'll come out of executive session and all we're going to do is adjourn. But we're going to sort of pause the meeting for a bit while we go into executive session. Do I have a motion to go in?
I move to go into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Perfect.